Personally and individually, if I had to talk about Prime Minister Modi's priorities for the farmers' welfare, what message does it convey?
It conveys a message that he cares, that he's very
Mhm.
serious about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Internal security is all about getting in there early before the congregation even congregates. 10
Okay.
people are easier to control than 100. 100 are easier to control than 1,000. 1,000 are easier to control than 100,000. Protests against the farm laws. Remember, it was just one state protesting. One state plus a few allied border areas protesting in UP and
Mhm.
Haryana.
Hello and welcome to this special broadcast on One India. The Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has approved seven schemes to improve farmers' lives and increase their income at a total outlay of roughly 14,000 crore rupees. Now, this speaks volumes for a government which was criticized for having an quote unquote anti farmer stand. We saw what happened a couple of years ago with the farmers' protests, and till now, farmers in some pockets, certain pockets of the country, still protesting. What is it that Prime Minister wishes to do with this? What does it reflect about the party in power? To discuss that further, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Senior Fellow, Institute of Peace and Conflict Studies, also known as IPCS, joins us on the broadcast. Abhijit, thank you so much for joining here on One India.
Thank you so much, Pankaj. Always a pleasure being on with you.
Same here, likewise. Thank you. Abhijit, in your opinion, how do the newly approved schemes by the Modi government reflect its genuine commitment to improving farmers' lives and incomes, especially in the wake of the protests against the farm laws?
So, when we talk about the protests against the farm laws, remember it was just one state protesting, one state plus a few allied border areas protesting in UP and
Mhm.
Haryana. Uh, did you see any of the other farmers protest anywhere in the country at all?
Right.
That wasn't happening, right? At most,
Mhm.
there were some chota mota staged protests by political parties, but the serious protests were all just one state. Why is that?
Hmm.
These schemes are great. Like, every government announces them, so there's nothing out of the blue out here. But the problem is, farming is a private enterprise. Why is the
Fair.
government subsidizing a private enterprise? It really shows you how bad Indian farming is, how low productivity it is, how completely out of tune with the market it is.
Mhm,
That
mhm.
and how poverty stricken it is, because these are people who are stuck in a rut where 90% of them outside of a certain area do not want to be stuck in the rut. They're held
Mhm.
hostage by a vocal 10% minority who will continue
Right.
to hold them in that position. And why is that 10% minority? 10% is a bit too much. It's more like maybe 0.1%.
Okay.
Controlling that 10%. Because Punjab, we should remember, when the rest of the country went through its phases of liberalization in 1991 onwards,
Right.
the rest of
Mhm.
the country saw a very significant industrialization. When it's still not an industrial country, but we saw a lot of growth of business, the growth of the middle class, the growth of
Industry
industrialization.
is coming up. Mhm.
Punjab, on the other hand, remains in that very feudal, unmodernized. Uh, I won't call it a sweet spot. I'll call it a sort of
Agriculture based.
1970s, 80s time capsule.
Mhm.
Where uh, you have 20% of the population, the Jat Sikhs, who control 95% of the land. Most of the labor out there is not Jat Sikh. They own no land. There are several kinds of debt out there. There's a Chakradhari loan, which is, these guys aren't even numerically literate. So they don't know what part of the loan has been fulfilled. It keeps going in
Right.
and things like that. Now, it's very much like a conflict economy. In Kashmir, for example, you had a conflict economy where almost 55% of the population was actually dependent on the security situation, not on terrorists, but the army deployment, on the CRPF, on the BSF, providing transport to them, providing
Mhm,
to
mhm.
them, catering to them, what
Live moved around that.
etc. And that was a complete conflict economy. This is a
Hmm.
different. It's not a conflict economy. It's a medieval, semi-medieval economy where
Mhm.
there are so many vested interests riding on it. If you bring the forces of market forces and market modernization, what happens to that class? So I think the government covered to
Okay.
most regressive obscurantist forces around.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, there was a rape at that in the farm protests done by the
Mm-hmm.
farm. There were several, hacking of limbs and killings and whatnot for beadabi and whatnot nonsense.
Yes, yes, yes.
So,
It had a
I
right
think,
name.
and in the larger scheme of things, 14,000 crores isn't that much.
Mm-hmm.
But congratulations. I'm sure the government, I mean, I haven't been able to win a single Lok Sabha seat, so I won't comment about the political wisdom of it. And Modi managed to win 240, so he certainly knows what he's doing. I'm just very unenthusiastic about it because for me, this is throwing good money after bad.
Right. Abhijit, got your point. So coming back to again the issue of the farmers here, that the government's intentions, the policy intentions versus farmers' perception. How can Modi government now bridge this gap, if at all? Because farmers' policies, pro-farmers' policies, that's what we have been hearing also about. How best do you think it can be achieved as of now?
See, I think sometimes, it's like a gangrenous arm. Once the gangrene sets in, you have to amputate it. I
Right.
think instead of penalizing the rest of the country for Punjab farmers, you just need to
Hmm.
impose the law again and
Okay. Yeah.
deal with the protests as they come. I think the government has done a very good job in dealing with the so-called second round of protests, which nobody's even heard about. They're like
Right.
scattered somewhere. The issue wasn't the protest. Anybody is free to protest. The issue is the violence and the disruption, the uprooting of telephone poles, the hacking of limbs, the killing of people, the assault on the police, the tearing down of the national flag from the Red Fort and things like that. Let them protest. I mean, how long are they going to protest? Uh, Keep them in the fields, let them protest. I think I've said this many, many times for the last 10 years since this government came to power. Internal security is all about getting in there early before the congregation even congregates. 10
Okay.
people are easier to control than 100. 100 are easier to control than 1,000. 1,000 are easier to control than 100,000.
Right.
They don't do that. They allow everybody to gather, congregate. They don't block off. I mean, look how efficiently, I mean, Justin Trudeau's a horrible, horrible man. But look
Mm.
how efficiently the truckers protest, their bank accounts were seized, their assets were seized, they were thrown in
Right.
jail. If it's democratic there, why isn't it democratic here?
All right.
And
Okay.
if the truckers
Mhm.
are white supremacist fascists, why aren't the farmers, landlord, fascist, uh,
Mhm.
Aryan supremacists?
Right.
Why Dravidian like me pay
Mhm.
taxes to my Aryan oppressors? I mean, if you want to fall for that, you know, Romila Thapar theory of an Aryan invasion.
History is all about that. But one final question, Abhijit. I distinctly remember sitting in a newsroom and early morning, around 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, Prime Minister Modi announced it on television that he would be withdrawing the three farm laws. Now, it was his face pasted with these three farm laws, with an allocation of roughly 14,000 crore rupees. Personally and individually, if I had to talk about Prime Minister Modi's priorities for the farmers' welfare, what message does it convey?
It conveys a message that he cares, that he's very
Mhm.
serious about sabka saath, sabka vikas.
Okay.
But it reminds me a bit of Lenin. You may not be interested in war, but war is interested in you. So you may be interested in
Nicely
sabka
put
saath,
there.
sabka vikas, but sabka saath, sabka vikas may not be interested in you. It's a bit like that, right? He's
Mhm.
reaching out to an audience that essentially turned a deaf ear and a blind eye to.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Time will decide, the losses and the what could have been and what has failed to fructify. Abhijit, thank you so much for taking time out for One India. Really appreciate your time and inputs here.
Don't miss out. Log on to oneindia.com for more updates.